Hi everyone, so in today's video I'm using the Free as a Bird stamp set from Stampin' Up. Now I wasn't going to record a video for this, but I thought I would take you along with me. So as you can see here, I've already stamped some of the birds in the Memento Black ink pad. So now I'm going to be stamping some of the leaves, and I'm also going to be stamping the small flower. So all three images are all from the Free as a Bird stamp set, and I'm just going to try and get as many of these images on this piece of Whisper White A4 cardstock. So once I've done all that, I'll come back and show you, because I am then going to try and cut them all out using the direct cut facility with the ScanNCut machine. Okay, so that's all my stamped images now on my piece of card. I'm just going to load this card onto this mat, and I'm using the CM900 machine, and I'm just going to gently rub down with my spatula, and I'm just going to flip my handle over and give it a good burnish down so that this piece of card is fully adhered to my mat. I'm going to go to Scan, Direct Cut, load the mat into the machine. I'm going to save the scanned image into the machine. I've got black and white selected, and I'm going to select Go. Okay, so that one is finished now. I'm going to drag in the red drag handles just to isolate my piece of card. So I'm telling the machine this is the area I want you to select for me and recognise. I'm going to press OK, wait for the machine to recognise the stamped images. Okay, so that's recognised now. I'm going to say OK and add a 0.04 border. But I'm just going to go back because I can see that on the bottom of the white piece of card where I drag the handles in, it's picking up cut marks off my mat. So I'm adjusting the drag lines and I'm saying OK, and I'm going to wait for it to recognise again. Okay, so that looks better. I'm going to say OK. I'm just going to go back into the offset and add a 0.04, say OK, wait for it to process, and then once it's processed, I'm going to say cut and start. So that's starting to cut now, and you'll see when I peel it all off, it's even cut out some of the leaves that I didn't even stamp properly. So when this is all cut out, I'll come back and I'll show you the next stage of my card making process. So I'm just going to release the card from this mat. Now this mat I have restuck recently, so it's quite sticky, so I'm going to turn the mat over and I'm going to peel the mat away from the card rather than trying to peel all the card away from the mat, if that makes sense. And I'm just doing it gently, you know, bit by bit, and I've got most of it there, so I'm just going to now peel up all the remaining sections of this piece of card, and it should leave all my cutouts behind. Okay, so there you can see that's all perfectly cut out, and here are all the birds and little flowers and leaves. So I'm just going to start peeling these off one at a time. I think I've got about 8 little flowers. I've got 8 birds, and I'm not sure whether I've said, but these cards that I'm making a start on here, I'll just show you the little bird, how it's cut out beautifully with the 0.04 border. These cards are going to be my November customer thank you cards for people that shopped with me through my Stampin' Up shop in November. So I'm making a start on them now so that when I get to the end of the month, it's not one big mad rush to make a stack of cards, because anybody that shops with me, I do send them a handmade card every single month. And if they use my host code, at checkout with their order, I also send them a little free gift. Here I'm just going to show you the leaf. Look how beautiful that's cut out with the again with the 0.04 border. So I'm just going to start picking all these off this mat now, and I'll come back when I've got them all ready. Just got to this last one now, and this is one I didn't actually stamp properly, and although I've not stamped it properly, the ScanNCut still did try to cut it out in its little bits. Okay, so I've got the birds that I'm doing in crumb cake, the flowers I'm doing in flirty flamingo, and the leaves I'm doing in old olive. These are all light in the blends. So I'm going to start by colouring in the flowers in the flirty flamingo. Then I'm going to do the birds in the crumb cake and the leaves, and when I've coloured them all in, I'll be back. Okay, I thought I was recording and I wasn't, so I'm just going to show you how I'm going to make my base cards. So I've got a piece of thick Whisper White cardstock, which I'm cutting at 2.75 inches on the short side. So I'm going to get 3 cards from this one UK A4 piece of card. And now I'm going to score them. So I'm just going to move the cutting blade out of the way, and I'm going to score them at 5 7/8. So here I will have 3 base cards, but obviously I need a lot more to make for this stack of cards that I'm making here today. Now I've got a piece of 6x6 designer series paper. This is from the Subtle stack, but I think this is last year's Subtle stack. This is the one with the polka dots and the stripes. And I'm cutting this piece into 1/2 inch strips, because the idea is that I want to use a little bit of a pink colour to match the flowers. Now the flowers were coloured in flirty flamingo, and I think this is petal pink, but because it's Stampin' Up, all the colours all work together. And I'm just cutting them the length of the 6x6 piece at the moment, because I'm not sure whether I'm going to put them vertically on my card or horizontally. And I'm just showing you here that I've scored the cards in half and, you know, burnish them with my bone folder to make the base card. So now I'm going to bring in these doilies. I've had these doilies forever and never really used them. And I've got one here that I must have chopped in half at some point. And I'm thinking that I want to use them on these little cards. And this is my thought process. I'm just trying to work out in my head, and before I stick anything down, whether or not I think this is going to work. I'm just readjusting my base of my card here because it looked a little bit squint, but then I seem to think it looks okay. So I'm going to put the piece of paper down, I'm going to put the doily down and kind of see how I want them. I know I don't want it positioned centrally on the card, because I always think that looks a bit odd when you put something exactly central. And then now I'm just going to bring in some of the leaves that I've coloured in and a little bird, and just kind of mess about with them and try and get an idea of how I think I want this to look. Okay, so I think I've got the basic layout of how I'm going to position everything on my card. So I'm fairly happy with that now. So I think what I'll do, I'll start taking the pieces off, and I'll get my adhesive and I'll start sticking all these parts down onto my base card. So with my doily, I'm just going to position it down onto my silicone mat, and I'm going to try using a bit of snail to see how I go with this. I'm going to position this near to the bottom, but not, I'd say probably about 1/3 of the way up from the bottom. I'm just giving my card a bit of an extra crease with my bone folder. This doily is about the right width for this card. It just marginally hangs over the end, which you'll see in a few minutes when I come to trim down the designer series paper. So I'm going to apply some adhesive to this piece of designer series paper, which I cut at 1/2 inch from the 6-inch piece, and I'm just going to position it over the top of the doily, stick it down, and then I'm going to bring in some scissors. Now I was going to use my snips, and then I realised I've got adhesive on the back, So I'm just dragging out my old adhesive scissors and I'm just trimming the end of the designer series paper, and that little piece there that I've still got left over is big enough to do another card. So from the one piece of 1/2 inch by 6 inches, you can do 2 cards. Now I'm going to use some of my multi-purpose liquid adhesive, and I'm just going to apply a tiny little bit to the back of my leaves. You don't need a lot. I'm just applying it just to the base. I'm not sticking them down completely. And I'm going to position 3 sets of leaves onto the designer series paper. So I'm putting one at the top, and then I'm going to have one coming from one side and one coming from the other. So I'm going to just get my bird, and I'm going to put some dimensionals onto the back of my little bird. You don't need many, just a couple, depending on how big your dimensionals are. I'm using the minis here, but on some of my other cards that I did, I used some of the bigger dimensionals, and I literally just put 2 on. And a tip I would say is if you're using this same stamp, put 1 on the head of the bird and put 1 about the middle of the body, and then you've got space to be able to tuck your glued leaves underneath once you've got your bird in position. So again, I'm just applying a little bit more glue to this second leaf section, and then I'm going to glue 1 more and position that. So I've got the bird on the dimensionals and the 3 sets of leaves all stuck down flat on with the liquid adhesive. And you can see that because I've used a few mini dimensionals, I'm just having to move the bird a little bit to try and get the leaf underneath. Then I'm going to get my flower, and I'm going to put 1 dimensional in the middle of the flower, and I'm going to position this just before the bird's tail and over where the 3 sets of leaves all kind of meet underneath the bird. And I'll just give you a quick close-up. So I'm going to take some of our basic rhinestones, and I'm using the small ones. They come in fact, these are probably the medium size, because I think they come in 3 sizes from memory. And I'm just applying a little rhinestone to the centre of each of the little pink flowers onto the card. And I'll just do the rest, and then I'll come back, and then I'm going to stamp my little greeting, and then this set of cards will be finished. So I'm going to use the word hello from this Free as a Bird stamp set. I've already got it mounted up onto an acrylic block. I'm going to be using Memento Tuxedo Black. I'm just going to ink up the greeting, and I'm going to stamp this in the bottom right hand corner of all of my cards. I'll just give you a quick look, and then if you stay with me till the end, I'll give you a close-up of all the cards. So I'm just going to work my way through. I've got 8 cards here that I've made so far, and then I've got some more to make. And as I say, these are going to be thank you cards for everybody that shopped with me through my Stampin' Up online shop in the month of November. So I'll be back when I've finished this. Okay, so here they are all finished, and here's a close-up so you can see just with some simple stamping and using your ScanNCut to cut out your shapes, you can make a beautiful set of cards. And I'm hoping that all my customers will enjoy receiving these in December. Please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.